Welcome gamers to Conquer the Galaxy. This is a special presentation showing the Space 4X type games that Slitherine has put out over its history, mainly really sort of starting from about 10 years ago and sort of working our way forward. I'll be spending some time with a number of different games, and if you have a look down the bottom you'll actually find like an index of the games that I'm going to be covering. We're going to be finishing up with this game, which is Distant Worlds 2, which is an incredible game, one of my favourite games, just absolutely love it. But I will talk about that in more depth as we sort of get to the end of it. I've only got 30 minutes really to try to put this video together, and that's actually a short time for me because I do tend to get sort of sidetracked and end up sort of going off on tangents and talking about different things. What I want to do with this is when I actually am talking about a game, I do want to talk about the things that made it enjoyable for me, like as a gamer, and also if I did struggle with certain things as well. I think often it's a good idea to know why you're playing a game, more so than just actually coming in with a predefined sort of set of ways of actually approaching the game. And I think particularly with games like Distant Worlds, you certainly need to actually understand what's going on within the game structure before you even start playing. Not that it takes a lot of time to explain that, but having that paradigm certainly does actually help with the enjoyment factor. So I'll take that into account. Also, if there's little things that I sort of found that were fun in the game that you may not be sort of totally aware of, I'll mention those as well. All right, so let's just get into it. As I said, we're going to end up here with Distant Worlds, but we'll start off with Polaris Sector, and along with their Lumens DLC as well. So they've got one DLC that came with this one. This is about 10 years old now, or maybe 9 years old. Great game. I loved it in its era. Like, it was fantastic. I don't really play it anymore, but there is one little thing at the end of this particular game that I will actually sort of show you of the way that I used to really enjoy it a lot. I'll have to turn down the sound for that one because it does use some mod, and it does actually use music that will probably get the video sort of demonetized or whatever. So anyway, let's just go in and I'll just sort of show you what the scope of the game is very, very briefly. I've got very limited time to actually do this, so I'm just going to be sort of skipping through. There's a lot of different things you can do in this game. The one thing I would sort of suggest that you do is just choose any of the actual galaxy types that you really are wanting. Just get the number of stars down really, really low. It is one of these games where it does take a long time to play it out, so you don't want to be going in with like a full-blown lot of stars. You want to be going with fairly minimal. You could also even change actually number of races. We do have eight in through there. We can't actually sort of change that one so much. Yeah, we do have this one here. We can get that one down to 4. Then we've got 40 stars. These small worlds were a good way to play the game, or small galaxies. After it is to conquer the galaxy, so we're just making a smallish galaxy so we can conquer it fairly quickly. Race selection, you had a whole lot of different races in the game, including koalas, which I never liked these sorts of things in games, but anyway, let's just go and choose them today. They all have different abilities, different ways of sort of them playing. It was more about the numbers that we see through here, were essentially the critical things in terms of how the faction did play. Let's just go and start the game. When you start the game, you do sort of start off with a sector that you control with various planets. You can see we've got like a fair few different planets in here which we can set these up for mining. Some of them have got like different resources. Again, I won't talk much about that aspect. I'm guessing I'm just trying to sort of show what the game has got. It's very simple. It's almost like a top-down sort of view. In this case, we do start off with a scout ship. I can then sort of move that off into different locations. The game is a real-time game played up through here, and even the combat is a real-time type combat, but it's fully pausable. So it's got like an active pause or a tactical pause. So I can unpause the game and have the ship go off. Let's just have it do that for a second. But if we go in and have a look at the Capella system, I can then go to the actual planet itself, like the Holy Pit in this case, which is an Earth-like planet. Nothing in the build queue. Let's just say we wanted to build some ships. I could then just go back into the ship in through here and then choose something to go and build. Let's choose a colonizer just for the sake of it. If you just go to build, it will then start to build. It's going to take 6 years and 1 month to build that particular ship. And that's just coming down to the production, etc. So it does have different buildings on the actual planet itself when it does start. I won't go into all the depth of it, but that's essentially sort of how the mechanics work. It's fairly simple, and which is good because you don't sort of get too bogged down. But it is detailed. Every single building makes a difference, etc., etc. All right, let's just go back out. I think one thing I do want to show is the starship builder. I'm not going to be able to show combat, I don't think. But if I go into the ship designer, this will sort of give you a bit of a feel for how the game is sort of then set up. And so you've got the different hulls in through here, like corvettes, cruisers down this way, which is a very, very large ship, battle satellites and freighters. And so often whatever you're building will actually be a function of what you sort of see through here. So if we go, for example, to a cruiser, which is a very, very large ship, it comes with 4 different decks. And so in this case, we'd have to then go and build a new prototype, and then we actually have the 4 different decks with different equipment on the actual decks itself, or slots for the equipment. And so you design your own ships as you went, and essentially sort of fill them up with different components, which is really cool. If we go back to the fighter, which is just a 1-deck, very simple fighter, I'll just show you how this one is built as an example. So if we just go into to new prototype, it's called the Koala. That'll do me. And so in through here we have things like, for example, got a nuclear reactor. But let's just go back to weapons. What I'm just going to do is just select a pylon. I've got the fireball emitter there, which is essentially an energy weapon. Let's just go and click that one. It will then fit in these yellow areas. Whoops, there we are. I'll just throw 2 of those on board. At this stage we don't have any power. I'm going to just rip through this one. Engines, I can put engines in these sort of pinkish areas. Just go and throw a couple of engines on. This is the generators. And if I go and throw a generator at the top there, for example, we now have still a power imbalance. So we'll just go and throw a few more in. We need just a few more of those. Okay, that's now a viable design that we actually have that has got the different types of weaponry. We have different things we can do there. We can choose different styles of weapons, of armor for this thing, and shielding as well. If we had shields, we don't have any shields at this stage. Then just an infrared scanner. I'll throw that in as well. Just pop that in there. So you essentially just pop it into where you want it in your ship, and that is still balanced in terms of power. And I can then just basically go and save that one, and away we go, back to the hull selection. That one should be okay. Oh, weapon ranges. The game is real time. And so the weapon ranges are really important. When you've got an actual ship, you have to manipulate them or move them in space to do different things. There are some different automation things with it as well. But so each ship has then got its own weapon ranges based on how you then construct it. If I built something on one of the bigger hulls, we'd be able to then sort of fire all the way around the ship. But it's a pretty cool system. This is one of the things that really did grab me in the game, was actually the tactical combat and the way that you then designed your ships. It was one of those things on a small galaxy, you could sort of play it fairly, it was a bit of fun, like it was actually just a fun little game to play. Anyway, that's sort of like the inner workings. I can't really sort of show the combat, unfortunately, otherwise we'd have to sort of move it a little bit into the actual game itself, but it was very, very cool. And so the X-Fighter, for example, this one's got 3 engines, it's just got 2 fireball, it's got a plasma missile and a fireball emitter. This is one that comes with the game. We've got a carrier in through here, which has sort of been decked out with all sorts of different things. If I have a look at the weapon ranges of that one, that's the various weapon ranges from this particular carrier, including its broadside attacks. If you have a look at the second screen in through here, we've got fuel tanks on this one as well. We've got munition supply, more engines, and so they all sort of work very, very well. The cruiser we saw there was the big one. This one here, we don't actually have any prototypes done. We do have a Defender satellite. This one has got 3 areas. This will be different sorts of weaponry, different hard points. On the top one, the middle one will then actually have nuclear reactors plus an infrared scanner. In the bottom area, again, just pretty much just purely for combat. And again, fairly cool the way it sort of does work with its various weapon ranges from these different areas. Very, very cool. It was a fun game. Like for an oldish game, there's a lot of good things in this particular game itself. Anyway, I've spent more time than I wanted to on this game already. The one thing I did want to talk about was there was a Star Wars mod for it, which was extremely cool the way it was actually done. Where the ships would actually then be Star Wars style ships, etc., etc. I won't show it. I've run out of time already for this particular one. I do have to try to keep this presentation down to around about half an hour or so. All right, the next game on our list is Astra Exodus, which I didn't really play a lot of. I played a little bit. I played more time when I looked at the Steam timing on this game than what I thought I did, because I don't remember much about it. This Astra Exodus is essentially sort of like a new look, or newish look, from 10ish years ago at Space Empires, if you ever played those sort of games. So essentially you'd end up with, like you'd have like fleets in through here, you'd then go and choose them, you could then sort of move them off to various systems to go and do different things, and so they would then sort of start to then sort of work their way through. It's a turn-based game, maybe a little bit like Master of Orion would be the sort of style of game as well. I found the graphics they almost assault your senses, so I didn't enjoy this game as much as other games, so the immersion factor for me just wasn't there. If you go in, you've got a few different levels. We can then just go into the actual system itself, and so this is in case we've got Terra in through here. Looks like we've got a few different planets that have sort of come back into this particular one. Where you've got an actual planet itself, you can then sort of delve in even further. It's just got these sort of funny mask type things, which I don't know. It sort of, for me, it just gets in the way a little bit of the immersion. But again, there's some depth there, I guess. It doesn't rate very highly, this game. Like, this is actually one game. Just check the Steam reviews, I guess. So because I don't remember much about this particular game, but have a look at the Steam reviews for this one and just sort of see if it's sort of. Like I had a bit of a glance at them. There's a lot of people that just don't like the game, but then there's a lot of people who say, "Hey, there's more in it than what you think." But anyway, I'll just leave it to you guys to sort of have a look at that one yourselves. Right, let's move on to the next game. One of my favourite games of all time. This is Gladius, Warhammer 40,000 Gladius Relics of War. An amazing game. It's not set in space. It's essentially, you've got like the Warhammer factions that are then vying for a planet called Gladius against each other, and also against the planet itself. Like, there's going to be some things, I would guess, that we probably sort of see. Here we go. We've got a couple of Suninen, which essentially are a part of the actual planet of Gladius, and then we've got like an enemy force over through here that we're currently combating in this particular one. The thing about Gladius is that it is an incredible AI in this particular game. I really can't think of another game that's got a better AI in any game that I've ever played, and so it's a big statement, but it really is that good. It's it's really been finessed, so it's not an easy game, but you do have different difficulties you can then go and play on. But overall, what actually happens is the AI is very, very good at knowing how to bunch its forces and then come after you, thinking it can then win against you. If you trigger it too early, you're in a lot of trouble. What you have to do is make sure that you've got a big enough force to be able to handle the way that the AI pulses its attacks, and it's just a brilliant game. I really can't talk about just the gameplay highly enough. You then sort of couple that in with the actual immersion of the way the units actually sort of work, the different factions. The base game itself, even if you don't get any of the DLC, the base game has got 4 incredible units. So you've got the Space Marines, which are sort of like entry level to sort of learn the game, but they're a great faction. The Necrons, who I'm playing over this side. This is the Necrons over through here. You've got the Astra Militarum, which is sort of like the Imperium forces, and then the fourth one are the Orcs. And those 4 factions really are cool. They play so differently, and so even if you don't get any of the other DLCs, that alone makes it sort of like a worthwhile game to grab. And then the DLCs just keep on adding more and more to it as well. So you've got like a whole lot of different Warhammer factions that you can sort of play with in the actual game itself. I really can't think of another Warhammer 40,000 game that is anywhere near as good as this game. I'm not even thinking there's anything that's even close to it. There's other games that have come out that are sort of probably more popular than this game, but just with the AI in this game alone, just for me, just makes this such a must-have in your library. The other thing with this game as well, is it does come on special very, very often for very dramatic price decreases as well, like 90%, 95%. Sometimes they even have it for free if there's something else coming up. There is a fair amount of DLC, which does actually sort of make people feel a little bit, I don't know if I want to actually grab all the DLC. It's almost like it's got DLC bloat when you look at it. In fact, I'll show you. Yeah, the base game came out in 2018, so it's oldish for the base game, but they're still making DLC for it because it's just so damn popular. It's such a great game. As I said before, one of the probably one of the top 5 games I've ever played, and like it's always right up there for me. Just absolutely love the gameplay from this particular one. But there are a lot of DLC. You can see down through there, we're showing 1 to 5 of 19. So is it DLC bloat? And I'd have to say no, even though there's a hell of a lot of it. You don't need the DLC to have fun with the game. And I think if you then end up getting if you get the base game, you'll then sort of find whether you like it or not. Now, a lot of the DLC actually add new factions to the game, like, for example, the Tau or the Craftworld Eldiri, so like the Elves, for example. You've got the Tyranids as well through here. And then a lot of them sort of interspersed with these are also going to be sort of like extra equipment for your forces. So I think they're all really, really good, like the way that they sort of work. And it's, again, you can actually sort of have a look at the reviews for each of those as well to sort of pick and choose your way through them. So you don't need all of them. Even just the base game alone is an incredibly good sort of experience in terms of playing the game. So that's sort of in through there with the different group, Adeptus Mechanicus. Some of these are actually sort of quite hard to play. Like Adeptus Mechanicus is more for advanced players, where it's got very nuanced the way that the actual game works with that particular faction, and just trying to sort of make the most out of it. But some of them are fairly easy as well. The Drakari are another hard one. This is sort of like the Dark Elf faction, but it's just an amazing game. I really can't recommend this game highly enough. It's as I said before, best AI I've ever played. It's absolutely a must-have, for the actual game itself. It has a fairly simple way of actually playing the game as well, like in terms of the combat. I might just quickly show that as well. Yeah, so if I just grab, like, for example, these Scorpec destroyers. There's a lot of mods for the game as well, so there's a lot of different things you can then go and do. So with this particular one, there's things, for example, like in here, if I hover over a unit, it's easy enough to sort of learn what they do. This one here, for example, has got different abilities. If I go and press, you'll see there, press Alt to show the opponent attack if they were going to attack me back. And so these are the Shining Spears. If they attack me back, it's going to do 8.8 damage. We're going to do 7.2 damage to it with what's actually sort of happening through there. And we then get a view of the various weapons that each thing actually has. I'll just go with the Scorpec destroyers though, just to sort of get started. You do actually have information about they've got hyperphase threshers into here. It's just sort of, it's simple, but it's intricate the way that it sort of all combines together. And so, for example, you've got the actual damage, and there's 5 units, so it's times 5. So the attributes are 2.3 times the 5 of the actual units themselves. They've each got 2 attacks, so you then double that again, so it's now times 10, so it's now doing 22.3 damage as its base damage. The armor penetration is 6, which means that essentially if the armor is it doesn't sort of, like, it can take anything up to more than 6 armor. What's this one through here? This is if I have a quick look at its armor rating is 9. So this has got high armor, and so we don't do as, like, we take a little bit of that off for what we're actually going to be doing in that particular instance against this particular unit. So we then sort of lose a little bit with what's coming back into that one through there. We then got the so we're still doing a lot of damage with what these hyperphase threshers actually then go and do. The accuracy, like the base accuracy for them, is 9.4, and they're at range 1. They're essentially a melee weapon, and so it'll tell you if there's special traits. Some weaponry have got like traits that actually mean that they do extra damage if you don't move. Some of them have damage if they've closed in, like with some of their ranged attacks. So you get a feel very quickly for the actual units that you're then playing as. And in this case, they're going to, you can see there, the Shining Spears, we're going to ultimately do 2.2 out of 2 casualties. So even though this is like an estimate, and if I just press the shift, I can then keep this little thing visible and actually hover over these as well to see what's actually going on with what we're doing. Actually, that doesn't ring true in terms of the actual damage. But this is the threshers in there, just showing us that we're going to be doing 13.5 damage. Okay, and yeah, so we'll actually end up killing both of these units in one go. So we're going to hit that with a melee attack. And so if I just go and right click on that one, in they go. And they've destroyed that particular unit. So that's now been destroyed. And there is no, even though it said estimated, there's no random numbers in this at all. It literally is just purely what it says it's going to do. The damage is the damage. But it's still it's intricate enough to, there's still some nuance with what it actually does get up to. When you've got injured units, you can then sort of move them away. This one here is a ranged unit. And so it's going to have a range of 3, for example. And you'll see through here, these under the traits. So heavy halves the accuracy after moving. The accuracy is sort of like a multiplier for the damage. And then sniper doubles damage and sets a minimum of 4 armor penetration against infantry and monstrous creatures units. So it's very particular. So you get a feel for how to then use all your various units in the game itself. Awesome game. Actually, I've spent already now too much time on this game, so let's move on. But please grab this game. It's so damn good. There is another game which I will actually briefly mention, even though it's probably more the focus now for the Warhammer games from Slitherine. And that game is Battlesector, Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector. This is a very, very cool game. The base game is fairly light in terms of the actual factions you can then go and play, but there again is more DLC to sort of elevate this particular game. It's still very much in development, so for me, I still put Gladius above this game, even though this game looks better than Gladius. I won't open it up, I just want to talk very, very briefly about it, but this I think is the future for the Warhammer franchise within Slitherine, because it's just improving and improving all the time. So I won't play the videos, but we'll just go in and this is a game, again, rates very, very highly. There's a lot of DLC which sort of is needed in this game. It's not really needed in Gladius to sort of get a feel for it, but I think in Battlesector you do need to get a few of these just to get just to flesh it out. But they are developing new ways of playing the game, which is very, very cool. It's sort of a game that I liked the base mechanics a lot. I love the graphics in this game. It's just beautiful graphics. But I did find that the base game was just a little bit sort of one-dimensional. But that is fleshed out with all of the various additions you then sort of get with the actual game itself. And these also do play very, very differently. So it is one of these games, unfortunately, guys, it is one of these games where I think you do need DLC to sort of really get the most out of it. But it is actually an awesome game, but just not as, like the 4 base factions in Gladius, like if that's all you get, that's enough to really get a feel for the game. I don't know if you get the same feel for this game. Maybe you do, actually, just from the base game. You'd sort of then at least know whether you like enjoy the way it does play. Again, extremely good the way it sort of does work with everything in it, inside it as well. And each faction does play extremely differently. It's funny, I'm just looking at all these little mixed reviews here for the actual DLC. It's sort of I would rate the Astra Militarum really highly. I really enjoy that one. The Tau I don't really play that much. Orcs, of course, are positive. I actually rate these ones lower than that. So what do I know? I'm not sort of getting that. Sisters of Battle is pretty cool. That's a mixed as well. Necrons are really loving this game. That's mixed. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the boat here somewhere. It's just, but there's anyway, there's some pretty cool factions, and I think that they do enhance the gameplay by actually getting those. But this is the actual game itself does rate up there. Like it's sort of got it's very positive in through this other side and through here as well. So which is a great sign for these sort of games. All right, our next game is Battlestar Galactica Deadlock, which actually came out, when was it? Around about 2019, I think, 2020, somewhere in around there. So it's been around for a while, and it's no longer really being developed. There's a fair few DLC, as you can see on the side there. But where this game absolutely excelled, and I still can't think of another game that's even close to doing it as well as this game, is in the WeGo, meaning that you basically form your instructions for your ships, and then it's played out at the same time as the enemy. I don't know if I guess going to the new campaign. I'll just see if I can actually I'll just start the Deadlock campaign itself. It's got tutorials. I'll skip all of those, I think. I'll skip all of those. Just go straight into it, and I won't worry about the difficulty or anything. it sort of establishes itself, when the 12 colonies are sort of essentially a sort of being attacked by the Cylons, and you've just sort of making your escapes with the Battlestar Galactica. It tries to be true to that, but that alone gets in the way of the game a little bit. And so this is the campaign map for the game. And this is where it sort of just, because it's got to work with the 12 colonies, you've got the Cylons sort of off to the side here, essentially coming in and attacking different areas. It's not as cohesive as most other games in terms of the actual campaign map itself. It's sort of like a bit randomish, the way it sort of the things work. It sort of works, this aspect of the game, but there's no real way around that. The fact that you've got the 12 colonies and that the Cylons can sort of appear at any time, anywhere, which is true to the lore. So they've tried to sort of make it true to the lore. But in terms of a game, this whole mechanic of the campaign itself does get in the way of itself. So that doesn't really work all that well for me. I didn't really like the campaign side of things. And it was this aspect of the game. This is the WeGo sort of system where you were actually within where your ship actually was. You can sort of change its Z layer as well, just with its actual connection in the actual battlefield, battle map itself. I don't know if we can do the other one. Here we can actually. So I'll just go and place both of those. By the way, and this is where the user interface got a little bit in the way of itself with what was actually happening with the ships. I forget exactly how to do this now with this particular one, but you could actually come into the various craft and have a bit of a look at them. And the weaponry had a field of fire that was sort of realistic, but it didn't actually show it well in the user interface. And so this one has guns underneath. So this one attacks better from above, but it doesn't have any real protection in the top front. It does here. So it was one of these things where you want to start above the enemy as you sort of came in with these particular ships, and then sort of scoot down underneath them so that you can then fire from here, because these two weapons here can't fire below the craft. And so it was fairly nuanced the way it sort of did work. And then you just end your turn, and then there would be like a WeGo system. It would then play out based on what orders you'd actually given the ships. As I said before, I really can't think of another game, certainly a space game. There we go. We've actually got they're firing at that particular ship. I can just keep on having it sort of move in and doing different things with that one. And again, we probably want to get high, in this case above. This is an enemy ship in through this other side. Just do the same with this one through here. It'll automatically fire. So we'll just get them so that the front guns can then sort of fire at the ship. And I'll just go and end the turn. Oh, hang on. There we go. Yep, so that's okay. It's wanting me to go through the various bits and pieces. It's nicely intricate. It's not overwhelming, but it's a very, very, very cool system of combat. The only other game that really I think sort of comes close to it in terms of development, like particularly within Slitherine, is Scramble, which has sort of got like another WeGo system, which is unbelievably good. That's just currently in early access and is being developed right now. But Battlestar Galactica Deadlock, this aspect of the game, this WeGo system in space, they've done it incredibly well. Campaign is okay-ish. I would sort of probably be slightly negative more than positive about the campaign. The thing I hated about this game was the dialogue with the characters. It was very, very juvenile, and I really couldn't get my head around that. So that was an area of the game I kept on bouncing off. So we used to have to turn the voices right down low and just skip over all the dialogue and just play the game. I love the base game, which is mainly in space, as we're seeing through here, but the stuff around it just didn't do anything for me. They did fix a lot of that at the back end of the development of the game, where they sort of had like random radio chatter, for example, which is actually thematic, whereas certainly the dialogue for the campaigns was really, for me, not very good at all. But do I recommend the game? I do, certainly, for the space combat. The space combat, that WeGo system with the space combat, really, really excellent. Anyway, let's move on yet again to our final game. I wonder what that would be. And of course, I'm talking about the work of art that is Distant Worlds 2, one of my all-time favourite games. Certainly in my top 5 games of all time, basically, and along with Gladius. Gladius sort of sits in that esteemed company as well. But Distant Worlds 2, I love this game. By the way, if you are wanting to sort of find out more about the game or sort of ask questions about it, I play this every Wednesday. If you're in Australia, it's Thursday, very, very early Thursday morning. But essentially, it's a Wednesday stream that I do on my channel. So the twitch.tv/DasTactic or youtube.com/DasTactic, where I do actually go through the if there's a question about the game, I try to explain that as I'm playing the game. And so we have like fairly extended playthroughs. So at the moment I'm playing a game where there's a lot going on in a war. So let's just get into it, and I'll show you a little bit about the game and just give you a brief introduction about what this is. By the way, this game scares people, and I'll show you why. So this is the galaxy, like a smallish galaxy within Distant Worlds 2, just always randomly generated. I actually have always referred to Distant Worlds, either Distant Worlds 1, Distant Worlds Universal, or Distant Worlds 2, as being the most beautifully unbalanced game that I've ever played, which it really is. And also, it's a space opera. And so when you actually approach the game, if you're going to be playing the game, don't think of it like a standard game. The gaming things that you come into this game with are not going to be your best friend. And by that I mean you are not going to be wanting to do the full-on, the 4X's typically explore. Yes, you do need to explore. Expand, no, you don't. You let the game sort of develop itself up to a large extent. This is the other thing too. The game at its very, very core is a simulation. And it's really important to keep that in mind every single time you play it. For example, if I want to go and build a spaceship here, like in this particular system here, and we've got an attack coming in just a minute. I'll show you a little bit about this one coming in. So I've got a planet here. Where I've got sort of like nearly a billion, almost a billion of my characters. We're playing as the Gizarians in this instance. And so on the planet itself, for me to build a ship, I've got to have every single resource that I need to build the ship present on the planet, which means that my freighter networks have to sort of be able to bring everything in and do everything, so it has to be mined. So just to actually have a bit of a progression, let's have a bit of a look and see if we can figure out. So I was trying to show this in a succinct way. I don't know if I've got a good example here, but essentially the game, as I said before, simulation game. So this planet here, the Iwipoi is a moon, which is around a gas giant, but this particular moon has got two resources on it. It's got carbonite, and it's also got vafulescent. Now, this one here is a construction resource. This one here is a luxury resource. You'll get a feel for these different things as you start to play the game. That is being mined by this mining station, and it's got like equal numbers in through there. Maybe the mining rate must be about the same, 35%, 28. So a bit different. But anyway, that's now full of these resources and waiting for freighters to come and actually collect from it. Now, I can't see any freighters in through here because I'm thinking that the planets around here are probably actually already got enough. If we just go back and have a look at that one there, that's dragging cargo. All these little round ones are cargo ships that are off, going to pick up different cargo. Some of them should be coming back in as well, I would have thought. Yeah, so there's just other ships coming back in. I'll just see if I can find one that's actually got cargo on it. At this stage of the game, we've actually got like a lot of resources already on our planet. So our planets will then ask for resources. They've got resource shortages in through here. So what they have is fuel, which is Caslon. They have all the construction resources for building things down through there. Then they have luxury resources just for the planet development. And you'll see anything in red just means that they don't quite have enough to sort of satisfy the needs of the people. And so the request will go out for the freighters to go to mining stations that are mining these things to then go and bring it back to whatever planet it might be. Now, this is overwhelming because if I need to then go and build a ship, and I'll just go back out to sort of more the outer areas, I think I've still got enough that I can then go and do it. This is the Shidar system, for example. And so if I go into the Shidar system and go to its spaceport and decide to build something, I can then go and build build a new ship or base. And so I have all these different ships that I can then go and construct. So we can't afford the money to build this ship, but most of these we can build because we actually do have the resources here on the planet. And so the planet has to have the resources to build the ships at the planet itself. Now, if we have a look even at just one of our ships, like this one here is a destroyer. If I go and click on the actual destroyer design, this is the ship design in through here. We can sort of then go and design the ship itself. These are all the components on the ship, and if I just hover over some of these, like flux hardened armor, for example, you can see down there in the middle of the little pop-up on the, like, just comes off that screen, it's saying 10 Mebnar, 5 carbonite, 5 steel. That's the resources required to build one of these armor components. They're all going to have different things. This one here is using polymer and silicon. The crystal sensor is using polymer and silicon as well. This beam is using Osalia, Tidarius, Kaisian crystal, and Mebnar. These are all construction resources. All of the resources there combine together to give you the resources required to build. All of these have to be at the location where you're building it. I can't just, it's not abstracted in the middle of them, like all over the place, and you can just build wherever you like. So it has to be at the location. And so this makes the game feel really, really overwhelming. But all of that is managed for you. And so the game essentially is much more hands-off and just watching what happens and then just injecting yourself in as required, rather than actually being a frantic game of trying to sort everything out, because it will sort itself out anyway. So you've got a very, very intricate system of automation back and through here with the policies. And so this allows you essentially to either fully manually control something, have the AI make suggestions to you, but it won't act on them. It needs, and it'll pop up on the side if it wants you to do something. The next one here is to suggest and execute. So it'll still tell you, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, what do you reckon? So you can say, no, don't do it. But if you don't say anything, it will just do it anyway. And then finally, fully automated, where it just basically does its own thing. So a lot of the aspects of the game are done through this sort of system where you can actually turn things on or off. And again, you do actually have like drop downs for different ways of sort of playing this one. When I play the game, I play it on default, and then I just turn off all of the automation. So I make all of the fleet management side of things manual down through here. So these all become manual for me because that's what I enjoy. I enjoy that part of the game. So you can really play the game in whichever way you want to play it. You can go and just have the game play itself. In fact, this particular game, I let the game play itself for 20 game years, and then I then started to play from that point, which I like doing it that way because it allows a bit of history to build up, and you don't really know what's going to happen in that period of time either. And so you sort of come in a little bit halfway through, which is quite nice, and then you've got to try to fix any little problems that the AI may not have done to your liking. But it's really cool. So you can play it essentially where you just look watching an aquarium where things are moving around, but you can also then go and micromanage it yourself to whatever degree you like. But the defaults really are for most things to be automated. So it's not a frantic game. It's a simulation game, and you're mainly watching it. So it's mainly like watching an aquarium. And we do have a big attack coming in at the moment into this particular system. And so I'll just unpause the game. These are going to come in. These can get a little bit fast, so I'll just go to half speed. And so this is an enemy fleet, which is much, much more powerful than my ships. My ships are now automatically moving off to intercept it. There's different weapons now coming through as well. One of the really cool things about this game is trying to figure out how you then deal with the pros and cons of the actual ship itself, and to try to explain this in sort of like in a brief term. We can see there's this white beam coming out from this Dealbreaker destroyer against this particular ship. So it's targeting this particular ship with this white beam. The white beam didn't go past it, so it means it hit the ship. So let's just talk about that one beam and why that one beam is important. And so I've designed that into these ships. I like that aspect of the game. You don't have to do that yourself. You can just let the AI do it if you're wanting to. But these ships here are incredibly strong. And the reason for their strength, if I can go and look at any of the enemy ships, is they've got these shields which are extremely strong shields. And so if we have a look at the actual ship itself and just hover over it, you can see there it's got about 800 shielding in total usually. And so we've done a bit of damage to the shields, and that's going to be that white beam. It's mainly sort of smashed its way through the shielding a little bit. You'll see there the hull is also down to 99%. That beam is actually a special beam that we actually stole off another faction with our spies that does damage where it's actually about level with my cursor there. You'll see there that there's a actually a bit below that one. It's got shield bypass of plus 30%, which means that some of the damage goes past the shields. So by having weaponry that sort of ignores a portion of these very, very strong shields, it means that we can get down and do other damage. And then we even have an armor bypass as well, which then goes into the hull. So you can plan the way that your ships interact with enemy ships, but based on what you're sort of seeing. And so these particular ships with that one weapon have been designed to break through the weaponry of break through the shields and the armor of the enemy. And so there's different things that they can then do as well. So like with that one there, we've actually had a hit. We've only had a very small amount of damage actually bleed through onto the actual hull itself. Usually the hull then means that the components inside will start to take damage, but in this case we haven't done enough yet. But this is sort of like the thinking behind what can then sort of happen with the actual game itself. So if I just sort of unpause them, there's all sorts of different weapons being fired at these ships. So some of these will start to have their shielding drop. Now that little blue explosion, for example, was coming from in here. This is actually an iron weapon, which has now done iron damage. This has disabled some of the components in the ship. You can see there one of the engines is now in the blue disabled column, and if I go and have a look, one of its engines has been disabled for 18 seconds because of the iron weaponry. So there's a lot of intricacy, but again, you don't have to know it, but I really enjoy this part of the game. So sort of trying to figure out how to defeat something that's so much more powerful than what you are. And in this case, these ships they're mind-blowingly more rated highly than mine are, but my ships are designed to fight these ships. I love it. I absolutely love that aspect of the game. And it's all... nothing's abstracted, it's all simulated. So as they come back through, this thing is now sort of taking a bit more damage. All at by disabling the drive, like the main sort of one of the engines, it just means it goes slower in this impulse phase. So we've got other ships that are now sort of moving around. There's also small craft. These are all little small craft that are actually coming into the game. So these are bombers. These have taken a little bit of damage on their way in, but they're just going to be targeting some of the other ships. The ship at the back there that they're targeting. And there'll be point defense weaponry. A lot of the yellow beams that we see here are point defenses. There's torpedoes, which are these yellow things. There's pulse lasers in through here. What else can we see? There's a whole lot of stuff. There's more small bombers coming out. Yeah, there's just heaps of, like there's so much in this one. This guy here has now taken a heap of damage. This is one of mine. So there's a heavy frigate, which is trying to jump out of the system now, but probably won't make it. It's been ripped apart by the others. And will it make it? It's down to 19%. No, it didn't make it. So it got destroyed by the enemy. This enemy is extremely strong, and so it takes a fair bit to bring them down and sort of do meaningful damage to them. The small craft will try to get in behind them. That's the other thing with this game as well, is that the small craft are still making their way out to the back of the fleet, because what they'll be trying to do is get in behind the ship. If I have a look at this destroyer, the destroyer, when we have a look at its overall design, and this is actually where this game is again just so cool. It simulates the actual combat. So if we've got it's got iron pulse blaster and impact. So this is a point defense weapon. So it's got its point defense weapon where it does actually have a full field of 360 degrees around the ship. So it can protect the ship effectively from any angle from this by having a point defense weapon at the top. And then it's got on the sides, it's got torpedoes, which are sort of like seeking weapons. So it'll just fire the torpedoes out from the side. That's the yellow ones that we see. What else do we have? We've got the impact assault blaster, probably at the front there, I would guess. We've got two different weapons in the front. Yep, so that's the impact assault blaster in through there, and then finally another torpedo on the other side through here. And so that's what this ship has got, and our small craft will still be trying to target this ship and get in behind it, because it can then sort of, in some ships they don't actually have this sort of 360 degrees field of fire. In fact, I don't think mine have. So if I have a look at my ships as an example, we only have, for example, this one here has got if I hover over those, it's got 180 degrees, but at a 45 degree angle. The deal breaker beam in the middle there is that big yellow, the big white beam that we saw, has only got a field of fire of 90 degrees. So they have to be positioned in such a way for that to make sense, which means that if you've got a very manoeuvrable ship, you can actually avoid all those things and just come in behind it. The only point defence we actually have, we do have a 360 on this ship up through there. So we've got a 360 mount in that particular area there. And the one at the back there is probably a Thuon beam, I would imagine. What is it? Yeah, Thuon beam at the back, which won't get to fire other than when it's actually gone past a ship. So in this case, that's not going to be all that effective. But it's just it's so cool actually being able to sort of manipulate these different things. Anyway, Distant Worlds. That's awesome game. Can't recommend this highly enough. Please join me on Wednesdays if you do want to find out more about the game. It's a game that's just getting better and better and better over time. There's a lot of improvements that are happening in the base game, but also there are DLC that is introducing new things into the game, and each faction just plays so differently. It's so well done. This game is a work of art. You wouldn't see that if you read the reviews on Steam. You'll think that it's not that good. But it really is super, super cool the way it sort of is all put together. And again, just put your head in the mind of, I'm watching a fish tank, it's a simulation, and I can just interject whenever I want to then change whatever I'm actually concerned about. But this is such a rewarding game to play. I really can't stress that highly enough. So anyway, that sort of brings us to the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been informative and helpful if you're sort of thinking about getting some of these games. But as I said before, it's I love the direction that Slitherine has gone with their development of games. I love their approach to games. I love that they sort of they have like a lot of indie developers that come together to put these incredible games together. With Slitherine, it's just fantastic. So. I'm an absolute fanboy, as I've said before in other videos, of what Slitherine does. I just love their whole approach to gaming and their focus on doing the best that they can for us gamers. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.